So I'm here with my friend and client, Lon Chen, and wanted to ask her what it means for her to celebrate the 4th of July since she immigrated years ago from Vietnam. And I'd love for you to tell a little bit of your story because it's such a great story.
Thanks. It's a blessing to be here. We got here in March of 1979. Immigrated from Vietnam and to South Dakota, Arlington, South Dakota, in the middle of March. Never seen snow in our lives. Came to 3 feet of snow, so it was weather shock as well as culture shock.
Right.
None of my family knew English, not even the ABCs, the alphabet. So we had to learn from scratch. My parents raised four of us came with my parents to the U.S. from Vietnam, and then 2 more were born here in the United States. So we have 6 kids.
So I know a little bit about your story. Tell me about how it was to get out of Vietnam and how was it to actually leave? Wasn't easy, was it?
No, I was 7 years old, and none of my siblings knew we were leaving. If we knew that we were leaving, if the communists find out that we were leaving, they would have captured all of us and put my dad in jail. So my mom said, my dad told her that we were going to leave like many times, and finally she didn't believe him that we were actually going to leave this one certain day. And it was so bad that one of my brothers went to go buy goldfish in the market, and nobody could find him. And we all got on the boat and about to leave him there, stranded. So he would have been left in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Had one of my uncles drove all around town to look for him, and they finally found him and then got us on a ship.
That had to be really scary.
Yeah, well, that's just for my parents, but we, as kids, we didn't know what was going on. Once he got on the ship, then we just sailed off into the ocean. 3 days and 3 nights. We were on a little fishing boat, like with 8 people.
Okay.
It was my grandmother, my aunt, second aunt, my mom and dad, and then Wei, me, Han, and Lynn. 8 of us,
Wow.
plus whoever drove the boat.
Right.
So what happened before we got on the boat, my dad knew the communists. He tried to outdrink them, with alcohol, got them drunk, so drunk that they didn't know what was going on. So then we all got on the boat and left and escaped.
That's quite a story there to
Yeah, and then each of us had to pay the captain. I don't know how much gold is, like 1 leaf of gold, 1.5 leaves of gold.
Wow.
Each of us.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Otherwise you can't. That's how you have to pay
In gold.
in gold. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. Wow.
And before I left, my grandmother gave me a little gold bracelet. I put it around my arm with a red a string around it, and they said, "Keep it covered.
Right.
No matter what happens, keep it covered. Do not show anybody that." And then, so on the ship, we sailed on the little boat, fishing boat.
Yeah, it's a fishing boat.
Fishing boat.
6 to 8 passenger fishing boat going on the sea that had to be scary itself
So-
because of the big sea.
Yeah,
ocean.
so in the middle of the night, we got on the big ship. I think that's where the gold goes to the big ship.
Yeah, right.
So got on there, and then we just sailed for three days and 3 nights. There's water. We were crammed like sardines, It was, I don't know how many people it fit, but it was like our ship had like 130 something people.
Wow.
And we were crowded. And I remember while we were on the boat, they were cooking, and the water boiled, and somebody got burnt, so they had to call, emergency. So got that, and then towards the 2nd or 3rd day, we were chased by pirates.
Oh, wow.
So once, if we ever get caught, pirates would kill you or take all your gold.
Right.
And so parents had gold necklaces, and they
Right.
hit them in their
Hit 'em,
body or their
right.
clothes, or some people put in their their teeth.
Teeth, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow. And then tell me about coming into South Dakota. I know a little bit about that because that's where my great grandma homesteaded from from Norway years ago. So she had quite seen snow like that. And the winters in South Dakota are very severe. So that had to be quite an impact, going from humid, hot to the very cold with 3 feet of snow and blistering wind.
right. Yeah. So when I wasn't finished with the boat thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, no, that's okay. On third day, we were by Thailand. We tried to get into Thailand. They wouldn't accept us.
Oh,
So then we sailed to Malaysia refugee camp. Bidong. We were the first ship on the entire island.
wow.
We were the first to arrive in, I think, June of 1978 or so. Yeah, 1978. We were the very ship number 1. We were there for 9 months because we
Wow.
were waiting for a sponsor to sponsor us.
Right.
We could have chosen, Australia, just anywhere in the world. We didn't have any relatives anywhere. We were refugees. So we just kept waiting. Every day you go to the office and see if your name's on there. But because my family is such a big group, we had a hard time finding sponsorship. If you had like 2 or 3 people, like, it's easier finding
Easier,
someone sponsor. So we waited 9 months for that.
Wow.
Lived in a refugee camp. We had water, well water. Took showers and brush your teeth and eat from that. And we was fine at first. And of course, no electricity. We had candles and
And this was
Lights.
in Malaysia?
Malaysia. Yeah, it's called Bidong. You can actually just search online. It is the size of a football field.
Oh, wow.
The refugee camp is the size of a football field. I mean, it is a big island,
Wow.
but it has trees all around.
Wow.
But only the part that you lived in the refugee camp is the size of a football field. By the time we left, 9 months, it held about 40,000 people. So, and towards the end, there was a lot of dysentery. Water was bad, not enough food. I remember the first night we were there, the grass was taller than me.
Wow.
So it was like a jungle,
Wow, yeah.
And then they cleared up. First night we were there, I slept in a big tent, and it rained really hard. All of us were crammed together in that little tent. And
Was the tent provided for you, or did you have to bring it?
it was provided. It was like huge. That held like 100 people.
Oh,
One of those big
gotcha.
tents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my dad and all the men eventually they went to the woods to cut up bamboo and build huts. I think some of the huts are still in Malaysia.
Wow.
There, I mean, they used
Wow.
the hay or I don't know bamboo leaves to for the roof and
Right.
bamboos, and then they cut the bamboo in half
Uh-huh.
to make beds, like 20-feet beds,
Oh, wow.
and then with the huts. So we all slept on there, and I remember I got lice because
Right.
everybody was together,
Right.
and so I had to chop off my hair.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So each morning, my grandmother and we would go around the island and look for coconuts to eat coconuts
Wow.
to drink because there wasn't
Coconut milk.
coconut milk, fresh coconut.
Yeah.
Yeah, get coconuts and coconut milk, coconut juice, and the meat from it. And then my mom and aunt, they made bao. The kind of like the bun bao. You know that? It's like dumpling.
Oh, the dumpling. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Kind of like that. They sold that to people. So I mean, we should try to find ways to make money since we were there so long.
Right. And you're creative, obviously. And out of the need of a necessity came creativity. Right. Wow.
Yeah, and then there's no toilets. A toilet was to dig a big hole in the ground, put 2 wooden planks on, and then squat in there.
Wow.
And then if you forget to get toilet paper, you just use banana leaves or whatever you find in the forest. And there's And then eventually there were so many holes in the ground, you have to
Right.
be careful where you walk.
Right.
We would play in the ocean, as kids. And then one time my brother Han, he was swimming and there was like a piece of feces like close to his mouth, it open. I was like, Han, watch,
Right.
close your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So it wasn't the cleanest.
It wasn't the cleanest.
Yeah, because the ships would just,
Right.
even every day there would be ships coming onto the island, on the
Right.
shore.
Right.
And then we would play around that, area.
And they would just
Yeah.
dump.
Yeah,
what
and
was
the
on
people,
ship.
and there was like bathrooms was not, people just going,
Yeah,
anywhere.
Right. Wow.
So it wasn't very clean.
Wow. That's. See, people just don't realize what you've gone through. Tell me what happened after that, after Malaysia.
So after Malaysia, after 9 months of, praying that somebody will sponsor us somewhere in the world, we got called. So then we went to Singapore, not Singapore. Yeah, actually one of my grandmothers and Uncle 3 and 4, they went to visit us in the island because Singapore is close to Malaysia.
Okay,
And
yeah.
my grandmother had a sister, her 7th sister. She's got 14 siblings. So her 7th sister came and gave us some clothes and
Wow.
a little food. So that was very nice of her to be.
So eventually that call came from South Dakota, right?
Yeah, so our church sponsored us, and then so we all got physicals and X-rays, make sure we didn't have tuberculosis, and then we were sponsored to Arlington, South Dakota for our Lutheran church.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Then tell me, what'd you do once you got there?
So the first night we were there, we were greeted by Fern Leach, which is actually just passed away this a couple months ago. She was over.
Fern?
She was over 100 years old.
Wow.
So, so she and then our pastors, Farron and Helen Farron, and Fern and her husband got in a motorhome, and from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, drove us to Arlington, South Dakota, which is 70 miles away, about an hour and a half.
Right.
And we've never met snow. So before that, we did have a layover in Hong Kong, from Vietnam to Hong Kong, and then we met my 3rd and 4th uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they lived in Hong Kong because they escaped from Vietnam before all this happened, because my grandma knew something was going to happen, so they left, so they didn't have to go through what we had to go through,
Wow.
luckily. But they left early because they wanted to dodge the draft as well.
Right.
Yeah. So we met them, and then we came to South Dakota. And the first night we were there, first day we was snow. We've never seen snow. Too cold for us in Vietnam was like 70, 75. And then come to here, we were all dressed in shorts and tank tops and sandals. I wasn't used to wearing socks or tennis shoes. So when I first came, I kept wearing sandals, even in the winter in the snow. And then what the principal said, shouldn't you be wearing something? I said, something warm. I don't like,
That's
to being hot on my feet.
That's something I never thought of, about the culture shock about the clothing you wear and what you're used to. You weren't used to socks or shoes. You're used to sandals and shorts and t-shirts.
Right.
So that had to be an adjustment too, because I know, having lived in Minnesota, how cold it is, that you dress for the weather, and so you have these big heavy coats on. You have 2 pairs of socks and boots, and you would have long underwear underneath your pants or dress or whatever. Yeah.
So I was just me. I just wasn't used to.
Yeah.
I just don't like being hot on my feet.
But that's something we don't usually think about, that kind of culture thing you had to learn too, is to dress according to the weather.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the first day we were there, there was none of us knew any English at all, right?
Right.
So we were met by 2 Vietnamese interpreters. So they came with us to South Dakota and helped us interpret the first night. And then after that, we were all on our own.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was like playing charades. So on the first day of school, they put me in second grade with my brother Wei. We both in the same class, and I think somehow they figured that out. none of us were ready for, you know. So they put me back in first grade and kept him in second grade. And then it was a charades. Like I remember the teacher told her, call, like take turns calling this group. So I just had to point, and like you have to the bathroom, just like play your charades in the bathroom. So we didn't have any help from.
Right.
Like there's no ESL or English
Right.
Central
No,
English
no.
as they have here,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So it was like
Yeah.
just learning from scratch. And then our pastor, Spearin and Fern Leach, they would come over to our house and teach my parents English.
Well, that's
And,
nice.
well, like once a week, or you know, or try to using pictures and turn.
Yeah.
And my dad worked at eventually got a job after like 1 or 2 weeks. Got a job at a grain elevator, making minimum wage.
Right.
You know, and
Which back then was probably less than $5.
like
$3.35.
$3.35.
Yeah.
Yeah. An hour.
Yeah.
And then my mom worked at a sewing factory.
I did that too.
Yeah.
I was working at a sewing factory
Really.
through college. Yeah.
Yeah. She sewed.
$1.10 an hour. I learned. Tells you my age.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was tough. I think after the first or second month, my dad found my aunt. So Aunt 2 came with us. She lived with us for like a couple months, and then she goes, I don't like this, you know. So she moved to Philadelphia.
So how long were you in South Dakota?
I was there for 13 years.
13 years. What brought you to Oregon?
My grandmother and my Aunt 2 and 3.
Okay, and your parents, did they stay in South Dakota? Oh, they did.
My mom still lives there.
Oh,
She
does.
goes there every summer.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad passed away about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and he wanted to sell a house in South Dakota, but my mom didn't want to. So she just goes back every summer, and you know.
She moved here and then goes back
So
there?
she lives in the house that I used to live in, Lynn's.
Oh, then
She
over
lives
here in
by-
Aloha.
In Aloha, yeah. So she just lived here, but you know, she's actually there now
Right.
by herself. So she lives there in the summer, in the winter here, and in the summer she goes back.
And that house in Aloha is the first house, that's how house I met you and Alexander at when helping you buy your first house, and that was your first house.
Yeah.
And I remember he bought it and paid it off in 7 years. That was incredible. I still remember 3-bedroom, 2 baths, single level ranch. It was about 1,350 square feet.
Good memory.
And you, at that time, and it was in 1995, if I recall right, and we paid $125 for it, right, or $129.
125.
And it was listed at that. That's what the list price was. So, I just have so much respect for everything you went through, and you paid the house off in 7 years, and what a great testimony. And you've kept it in the family.
Yeah.
So that's great.
So my mom lived there before my dad passed away. That was the plan for them. Both my parents lived there too.
Right. Now, I remember a story you posted years ago, or maybe a year or so ago, about your dad having sores on his fingers because in Vietnam he worked with his hand with a pencil. He pushed a pencil, and when he came here, he had to do manual labor, and it was unusual. But tell me a little bit about that.
So my dad owned a rice factory. He had partners, but he was the youngest one of all his partners. Like they were like 20 years older than him.
He owned a rice factory. Okay.
Yeah, he was. I don't know if it's called a rice factory or like he distributes rice.
Right.
And that's why the communist was after him, because he sold rice to the Vietnamese government rather than the communists.
Okay.
So and then they were.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they were threatening his life.
Oh.
That's why we had to escape from Vietnam. You know, some of his partners
Wow.
got killed too from that.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is why we didn't have a choice. You know, we were well off. We had maids. Our house was paid off. It was a 3-story house. Left everything, just our clothes, and just one day just left.
The price you paid for freedom.
Yeah.
It was a big price.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, the rice factory, and then I got my track.
Well, you had maids, you had your
yeah.
house paid
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
You know, you sold the rice to the government, and the communists didn't
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't like that. So that's why we all left. But so I think that's.
Okay, and then he was having trouble with his.
Oh yeah, his hand.
His
Okay.
hand.
Yeah,
and
'cause he
was asking for that udder cream.
Oh yeah, he. So he just used papers, and he's very good on the abacus. You know, he can, when he worked at the grain elevator, he can compute how many bushels or faster than
Anyway.
somebody using a calculator.
Wow.
Because I actually have his abacus here. He had 2 or 3 of them, and I took one back just for
Yeah.
memories.
Right.
Yeah. So he worked at the grain elevator for 13 years.
After owning a business where you sold rice, he's now working as a laborer at a grain elevator. That's another sacrifice that
holding-
people just don't realize.
Yeah, holding 50 pounds or 100 pounds bags, and then putting people's loading corn or wheat or whatever onto people's pickup, and and then South Dakota -30 degrees
Right,
weather.
right.
So his hand got dry and
Right.
very dry. So then one day, my dad and I, and most of my brothers and sisters, we stay up late because I'm trying to learn English, trying to catch up. So I would stay till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And one day he goes, "Can you get me some udder cream?" And I said, "Why?" He goes, "Oh, look at my hands. They're so rough." In Vietnam, all I did was use a pen, and my hand was so smooth, like a woman's hand. And now I come to the United States, and it's all calloused and dry and like bleeding. It's so dry. So,
Wow.
and then he would
And that's that cream. When you said udder cream, because I grew up on a dairy farm, I knew what that was. That's a special cream that you buy to put on the cow's udder because it gets really cold and cracked, and you need it to not be cold and cracked so that you can milk the cow.
you know that.
Yeah, that's where it's from.
Okay. Well, he must learn that from the elevator.
Farmers.
Yeah. So udder cream, and then just told us that oh yeah, he would use like a little. He always carried a little pad with, and every time he learns a new word, he write it down, and then he comes home at night and asks us, how do you pronounce this? How do you say it? And what does it mean? So.
That's quite a story, and that's a good, tremendous story of his effort
Yeah, he's trying to learn English,
to learn English and actually be a part of society, and yet maintain some of his heritage. So that's actually a really good lesson. So this 4th of July, or every 4th of July, what does that mean to you?
Just very lucky to be here in the United States. We don't realize how much freedom it is, is valuable. A lot of us just take it for granted. So it's a great time to celebrate and enjoy your freedom. It's people dying for it. Alex's sister also immigrated from the United States. He had 8 people going in a boat, and only 5 survived. And they were on the same island that I was on.
Okay.
Their boat capsized right before they landed. So his 2 sisters and his niece drowned. So not everybody can survive. And if we were chased by the pirates, but we probably wouldn't have survived either.
Right.
So it was a big risk.
Big risk, and here you are years later. You have raised wonderful children. You have grandchildren. So young, and what a story. And had you not done this, they wouldn't have enjoyed any of these blessings that they have. So
And while my dad was here, he sponsored hundreds of people.
he gave back.
Yeah. So relatives,
Right.
My 3rd aunt came to South Dakota. My 4th aunt came. My big aunt, my cousins. So, and then people that I don't even know, like friends. Like you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank to sponsor them and take care of them.
Yeah, yeah. So, and Alexander, and you have sponsored too. if I
Yeah,
re-
his sister and
his sister.
and brother. Yeah.
That's great, great story. Want to get Alexander? Can you stick your head in here and say hi?
Hi.
This is Alexander, my first client from Vietnam, and I sold him a house years ago, and I've been so blessed to be a part of their lives and their journey, and I'm just so thankful because had I not done this, my life would be not as full because of your stories. I have so much appreciation for what we do have. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm sitting here with Alexander, and he's the one who I told the story about tried to get out of Vietnam 13 times.
Yeah.
And it was 12 times you got caught.
Mm-hmm.
And you were just telling me that you got caught because the communists could tell you were from the city.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now go ahead and tell.
Okay. The first time I come to skip is on the Vũng Tàu. Is at one army that camp. I living inside. They know it's not from that location. They on the night time they cut a policeman in Vietnam. They come to around here, try to cut everybody. That's when I skip it. Then I don't cut and cut. And the second time I end Cắt Giá. The third time I end up back to the Đông Xuyên, and I live in the water house. It's the one is you have to every time the house is under the water. You have to, every time you go, you have to go for the boat, but they call the taxi.
A taxi, okay.
That's one that they come by pick you up and drop you out. That's one the reason. And I go back to Vũng Tàu again. Is the one is they chuck me. It's not about some people they don't want to. They will try to cut your money, but they check it. But well, when the boat coming, but it's, don't cut the boat, then I have to return home. And one time I skip is the one is at the boat is supposed to go for the government can pay for the money already. They can go out by themselves, but I on the big city to take the taxi to coming in, but I got cut. That's one. I got them go to the jail for 1 month.
Wow.
Have to bail me out.
Okay, so on some of the times, how many times did you get caught and go to jail?
One time I got cut for go to jail, but
Okay.
most time I can skip it.
Most of the time you got away.
Uh-huh.
Or got
And
skipped.
each time I think he had to pay money or
Each time you had to pay money to the
Gold.
government?
no
To
to the
to the
boats.
to the boat.
Whoever
Whoever. Oh, so that's a lot of money.
Yeah, but that's one. Finally, I skipped the one from the water house and the Đông Xuyên. Then I go to the boat to the one is on the ocean, make the oil. That's one they call the Palama Ocean to make the oil from there. That night I got in my boat is a booking. They don't want to pick her up. They shoot up the hot water. Let the boat come back out. Don't try to go in to hit the ocean for make the oil. They call the Vietnamese say call the Yao Quang, the one to make the oil on the ocean.
Okay. Like the ocean
oil
oil
rig.
rig.
The
Oil ring,
right,
oil
right,
ring. I
right.
go there.
Okay.
Then after that,
So how'd you get there? Did you get there by raft?
The
or
boat, by the boat.
By the boat. So
Yeah.
you're able to get on, and you just were able to carry one sack. No, nothing. Okay.
that one is after that I go. That night I got a 6 or 7 times the way. It's a will be if they don't pick her up, or boat will be die on that
Okay.
night. That's why they the reason to pick up or go to the Palama big ship, the big ship that night. Then after that, then we stay there for 1 night. And on the morning, they tell us to go back the boat. Nobody want that. Then they have no choice. Then have to check out to go to Indonesia.
Indonesia.
Mhm.
How long were you there in
I
Indonesia?
am the lucky one is for 5 months
Okay. Why do you say lucky?
because I come there for 5 months. I can go. Even my friend is living in Indonesia before I come to Indonesia.
Okay.
He say, oh, what day he will be go to the something the one he say he go to the what day he go to the Holland. Then even I in Vietnam heard the news say, oh, what day he go to Holland something, and I go to Indonesia. I saw him still there. I say, I heard you and ready to the Holland to living now, but how come you still in the Indonesia? He say, Holland decline him.
Oh,
So we're waiting for sponsors.
waiting for
Everybody's
sponsors.
waiting for sponsors on the
Right,
refugee
right,
camps.
right, right.
That's how long you have to stay.
Right.
Depends on when they sponsor you.
And he there about for 2 years.
Wow.
Then I come.
You were there for 2 years, or he? Oh,
He have to there 2 years. Then I come to Indonesia. I saw him.
Okay.
Then he got an interview for United States.
Now, who is this that you're talking about?
He's my friend.
Your friend. Okay.
He live in here.
He lives here now. Okay.
And he on the refugee camp, and he got interview for United States.
Okay.
Then the United States don't accept him.
They don't.
Okay. Then at the one is same day, but at the second person is interview the U.S.
Embassy.
In the
Embassy.
embassy, the U.S.
Your
right.
embassy is in the deep field me for that day, and one more family. Then they go home. Then I gotta accept that.
So that's why you can say you were the lucky one. You're only there 5 months.
Uh-huh.
While your friend was there 2 years.
Yes, still I live in before him.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Then after that, I live in Iowa about for 5 months.
Well, she went to Iowa.
Yeah, I live in Iowa, Davenport City.
Oh, Davenport. Okay.
Then for 5 months, then I save up the money. Then he come to United States. He say, coming over. That's one of my friend I talking about. He on the refugee camp. I see him. Then he live in Oregon.
Okay.
Then he say, coming over. That's why in 1981 I come to your Oregon.
Okay.
And I think it's in May. And 1981 I come to United States in Oregon in May. I go to Iowa it's on December.
Okay. So what has it meant to you to celebrate the 4th of July?
The reason is got more freedom, and also I come to United States. I don't have family at all, and right now I got a lot of family, and I growing up my family and my kid, and I living there. I got a free whatever I want to do, and all the kids will be on holiday. They will come back home.
I know. And your grandpa too.
Yeah, now my another grandkids they got home.
Yeah. It's wonderful. So it's good to celebrate. It's good to celebrate the 4th of July and remember our freedoms.
And
Yeah.
Gordon's birthday's on the 4th of July.
Oh, and your
Yeah,
your
Gor-
son's birthday's on the 4th.
Yeah,
That's
the Gordon.
wonderful.
Gordon is 4th of July.
Oh, how
Then
wonderful.
he say nobody has celebration for me. I say everybody celebration for you.
Lots of fireworks.
Yeah.
Who gets fireworks on their birthday? So that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Oh, you were just telling me, what was it that we have to do?
Since I try to remind my siblings and cousins and that since it was so hard for us to come to the United States, that we should take advantage of opportunity we have, whether to learn English or do better in life and get a good job and be part of society.
And I know that one of the things you've taught your daughter to do, or children to do, and your daughter made cookies for everybody once on a team, a track team. And that was quite a few cookies, wasn't it?
150.
150 cookies.
She did that a couple times.
Yeah.
She did that this year too.
Wow. So, looking for opportunities, being thankful, these are all things that we should never ever take for granted. So, and oh, by the way, they speak several languages besides English. Alexander speaks at least 3, and you speak?
He speaks Cantonese, Mandarin, and Vietnamese.
Oh, four. He
English.
speaks four.
Yeah, I speak Cantonese and English. I understand Vietnamese. If somebody talks bad about me, I just know what they're saying.
Oh.
But I just can't speak back.
There you go. So, okay, well, thank you so much. Bye. So we were just talking about what you left behind, how she left a really nice house in Vietnam. Her dad had owned a business. They had maids.
My mom owned a business as well.
Oh, your mom owned a business, so highly successful people. And left all that behind.
Yeah.
And you could have had an attitude of like, oh, why do I have to live like this? Because you had a life, a very nice life there.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think freedom is more important than, having to deal with the communists. And I can't imagine if I was still living there, what would happen.
Right,
'Cause what's the point of not having the freedom when
right,
you live in a country that you're used to? So
right.
I'm
And
just,
I love the attitude that you have and you've taught your children, and the attitude of gratitude and of being service. So we need more of that. Thank you. Thanks, Lon.